Welcome into the Sports Buffoons Podcast.
Hey there, happy Saturday, everybody, as we post Super Bowl weekend. Now there's other stuff to talk about besides the Super Bowl. Since celebrations ending pretty much this week. At least I feel like it should be ending. I don't know if I could celebrate another few days. Get back at me next week, though. My name's Tanner, the Sports Buffoons in Whiskey Sports Podcast, and Let's Talk Sports. Join with me is JG of the Sports Buffoons and Let's Talk Sports. What's up, JG?
What's up, Tanner? You're right, man. It hasn't been a full week yet. We haven't had a full week. So
yeah, I feel like it's been a full week.
That's why I've got my Chiefs gear on, man, because I need to have a full 7 days to get over this shit. So, yeah, I'm still celebrating over here.
I think I got one more day, which is today, in me. I got some events I want to attend here. So, but after today, man, I'm just gonna lay flat on the floor, just because I'm gonna be so tired. I was already so tired last night, but I still went out for a little bit. So, it's been a hell of a week, man. Hell of a week. A lot of emotions.
Tomorrow is the day when I get to sit there and watch the NBA All-Star game. That will be the day where I officially start to move on with my life. But until then, let's keep celebrating. But we do have a lot of stuff to get into in terms of the NBA.
That's right. NBA is just ramping up after this, so there'll be a lot of great topics coming to play. Today, guys, we're going to talk about the new look of the Lakers. We'll talk about the landscape of the West, who's the best big three in the league, and finally our predictions for the three-point contest for tonight's All-Star skills competition, essentially. So excited to get into it. So, JG, let's break it down, man. What Lakers here, right? They got D'Lo in. They got Mo Bamba came into play. Got rid of some guys they didn't need. Did they make enough to have a new look? Do they make enough to be a contender now?
I think there's a lot of teams that have enough to be a contender now, especially in the Western Conference. But for me, the Lakers, I love it, man. The first of all, the only thing you had to do was get rid of Russell Westbrook. And that in itself is addition by subtraction. And he was just a bad fit. A lot of people out there, they think he's totally washed. I disagree with it, man. I think he's got a lot left in the tank, but the problem is the fact that he was a bad fit for the Lakers, that made him look at times like he was a washed player. And I think he'll be a great fit for, some other teams out there. It'll be interesting to see who picks him up, but terrible fit for the Lakers. So now he's gone. But now we've got D'Angelo Russell. So we'll be talking about big threes a little bit later. Guys, this is a legitimate big three now on the Lakers. I understand D'Angelo Russell. He's not on the same level with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But to me, he is a star point guard in this league. And he's a dog. I mean, he's going to fight for everything. He's a scrappy player. First game in that new starting lineup, he had 21 points and 7 assists. And the most important thing for me is not only can D'Angelo Russell score, but he can also facilitate that offense, which can get LeBron James off the ball, which is something I've been begging for that for a long time. Now that LeBron is in the later stages of his career, you got to get that guy off the ball. Get him some rest. You don't want LeBron James, the best player in the last 15, 20 years. You don't want that guy running out of gas, or you will have no shot at the playoffs whatsoever. So D'Angelo Russell is a guy that gets LeBron James off the ball.
Yeah.
And can allow LeBron James to do some different things. Now, LeBron's still going to be facilitating that offense at times, but you needed a guy in there like D'Angelo Russell who, I would say has a higher basketball IQ than Russell Westbrook. That's also very important. But it's also a guy that LeBron James can trust. Now, it's kind of funny that the Lakers drafted D'Angelo Russell and eventually brought him back. But this guy's a stud, man. So that when we talk about the big three a little bit later, this is definitely one of my favorite big threes now in the league. They also added Malik Beasley, who is a 38% three-point shooter for his career. So you've got guys now that can space the floor. That's the other thing we complained about. When you had Russell Westbrook in there, we didn't have enough shooters on this team. And so that's what LeBron James needs is shooters. So now you got D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, who can knock down threes. I also like Jared Vanderbilt in there at the center position, getting you some rebounds. I like Mo Bamba coming off the bench. I love Dennis Schroeder now leading that second unit. That looks a whole hell of a lot better for me than Russell Westbrook trying to lead that second unit, because with Schroeder, while he's not an elite three-point shooter, he's still 34, 35% for his career. He's going to knock down the open three when you need him to. And the guy's only like 29 years old. So Dennis Schroeder, a guy, I feel like early on in his career, he was a star player. And so overall, I like the new look of this team. You've still got Austin Reeves coming off the bench, playing some really good defense, which is something else you're not going to see a lot of in the Western Conference, period, as we move forward in the playoffs. Not a whole lot of good defensive teams. So Austin Reeves is a guy that you can plug in there. He'll knock down some shots and play great defense. And another shooter, Rui Hachimura, that they acquired from the Wizards. He's coming off the bench now. He's a 35% three-point shooter. So I would say, Malik Beasley, he's a really good three-point shooter. But these other guys, they're going to hit the open shot, I think, when you need them to. So it remains to be seen if these guys will be a contender. I will tell you right now that the one thing that is a constant that never changes is that if you think they're going to be a contender, it always hinges on the health of Anthony Davis. If he is healthy,
it's always
they are a contender. I don't care who's on that roster. If he is not healthy, you might as well just give up, because they're not going to contend with anybody. So it's like that every single year. But if AD is healthy, these guys, I mean, they're a top 4, top 5 team in the West, no doubt.
Wow. All right. Nick Boggins out here. What's up, Boggins? JG, you got some shit on your hat? Hey, Boggins, you looked better in red anyways. You know it. You looked better in red.
Hey, I'm still waiting for Nick to go out and buy that Raiders Aaron Rodgers jersey.
He says Lakers still won't make the WCF because street clothes, Davis. And then what does he say? Clove to the Heat. Yeah. Look, here's my thoughts on the Lakers here. They're 13th in the NBA. Their points per game, the 7th best. Their pace is 2nd best, right? So there's hope there, right? But this is a basically a new unit you're going to after the trade deadline, and essentially in the All-Star break. It's still a unit that has to be cohesive and everything. But Mo Bamba, definitely an upgrade from Bryant. Happy to see that. I think Mo Bamba will be an effective piece there, as well as D'Lo being more cohesive, essentially, with that team than Westbrook was, right? Westbrook just has a different playing style. That's what it is. But you look at the teams in front of them, and you got to say that AD or no AD, right? Can they surpass these teams who can be, who have pushed the playing game? I think the Lakers have a chance to push a final spot of the playing game, but the Blazers, so the teams in front of them right now, the Blazers, the Jazz, the Thunder, Golden State Timberwolves, and the Pelicans, right? That's including playing games. So Jazz obviously lost the key pieces. Westbrook's not staying. They can push out. Blazers, as long as Lillard's there and Anthony Simons comes back healthy after the All-Star break, that's an effective team. The Pelicans, an effective team. The Timberwolves with Conley now. That's a team that was missing a key piece of Conley. And they have Conley. I think they push forward as well. I think they're right up there with the Lakers as an improved team, even though they should have been improved already. I think Conley's a really big key piece to that. And Golden State and the Thunder just likes to make noise with people during the games. But what about Golden State? So do you have any of those teams there? Golden State, the Pelicans, Timberwolves, the Blazers, and the Lakers. You have the Lakers surpassing all those teams.
I think I will guarantee you right now that at the very bare minimum, if AD is healthy, they will make the play-in. But I don't really care about seedings right now. You stated earlier that they're the 13th seed. We talked about this last week. There's not a whole lot of separation in the West. It's not like being a 13th seed in the East where there's more separation. They're 3.5 games out of the 6th seed. So I think it's completely logical. Like I said, I like the look of that roster right now. If they make this thing work with that new roster, they could be a 6th seed where they wouldn't even have to be in the play-in tournament. But yeah, I mean, I could easily see them moving ahead of the Thunder, the Jazz, Trailblazers, probably not Timberwolves or Pelicans, but you just never know. I mean, like I said, they will be in the play-in. I mean, you can take that to the bank right now, unless, like I said, if AD injures his cock, like happens from time to time, then that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, dude, nobody would want to play that team in the play-in situation. So Pelicans, yeah, I mean, I think that roster on paper is better than the Pelicans right now. Timberwolves, that would be that would be a good comp right now, would be Timberwolves and Lakers. I think those two rosters would be kind of even at this point. But for me personally, I know it was only one game that we saw the other night against the Pelicans. And so it's early on in the game with this roster, but it's just like I said,
the key.
Like I said, on paper, there, this roster in theory is better than all of those teams, in my opinion, with the exception of maybe the Timberwolves.
I don't think they scratch the top 6, right? I don't think they can scratch that, because that's Dallas, Phoenix, Clippers, Sacramento, Memphis, Denver. I don't think you can take any of those teams in the playing games. I think they can surpass Utah for sure. Portland, very possible, depending. It's all based on health for that team, really. And then the Thunder. The Thunder, a very inconsistent team. I mean, they play great games at times, but then they really go in a crap storm, right? Shitstorm, big time. So I think they can get into that final spot of the playing game, because I don't think you take Golden State out. I don't think you take Minnesota out. I don't think you take Pelly's out. So I think the Thunder, Portland, and Utah is your key teams to watch, because that's going to be your final spot into that final way. So if the Lakers, AD or no AD, again, if the Lakers can just be consistent in the second half of the season here, I think they can get that final spot in the playing game.
I tell you one thing I would love to see is the Lakers up against the Warriors. I mean, you guys know I'm a Warriors fan, but if I could see those two teams in a play-in tournament, and just to see the Lakers get worked by the Warriors, dude, like, yeah, you don't know how happy that would make me. It's like, I want to see the Lakers do well overall, but if that shit were to happen in a play-in game, I mean, the Lakers would just get worked, man. It would be ugly.
That would be. Botkins out here says, can Kyrie and Luka work? Do you believe in that combo right now? I know we're not to the big 3 yet, but just a general 2, cohesive guys. Can they work with each other?
Yeah, absolutely. They can work. I was just looking at my fantasy league the other day, and my particular 9-cat league, over the past, I think it was the past 2 weeks, it was over the past month. Kyrie Irving is the number 1 player in my fantasy league out of everybody. And that he adds a tremendous amount of firepower to that roster. And absolutely, I do believe that those guys can work together because Luka Doncic, I mean, yeah, while he's a ball dominant guy, Kyrie Irving won a championship playing next to a ball dominant guy in LeBron James. And so I think Kyrie has that experience where he knows how to play and feed off of a guy who is ball dominant like Luka Doncic. Now, do I think they're going to win the championship? Hell no, they're not going to win a championship this year. But that tandem right there, that tandem works for me. And I certainly think that, I mean, nobody's going to want to play that duo in the Western Conference playoffs because they could easily make a run. Dude, Luka was in the Western Conference finals last year. So even though he lost, I mean, they should at least make it out of the first round this year. So yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. But yeah, to me, that tandem works.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the layout of the West as we transition here. Obviously, we just went over the standings here. Your top 6 teams, I feel like, are pretty set. It's your playing games and the guys below that have a chance to make something happen. But what's your layout of the West currently?
Quite simply, it's very interesting because not a whole lot of these teams out West play any defense. So if I'm going to put any of these teams up against the Celtics or the Bucks or even the Sixers for that matter, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for any of these Western Conference teams to win a championship this year because most of their defense just sucks.
Yeah, looks like your Nuggets are the second differential. You know, Mike loves that differential number. Nuggets are the second best to the Boston Celtics. So
that's great. Except I don't even see the Nuggets as, they're not going to come out of the West. I have so many teams that I think are better than the Nuggets. You just talked about the Mavericks. I think in a 7-game series, Luka and Kyrie Irving would totally work the Denver Nuggets. I mean, that series to me could get easily very ugly. I think they would get destroyed by the Mavs. Everybody wants to talk about Phoenix right now, and they are the favorites now to come out of the West. And I think they're the betting favorite to win the championship right now, which I understand that. They have a great roster. Bringing in Kevin Durant was a huge add for them. But you got to remember, Kevin Durant's 34 years old. Chris Paul is 37 years old. Both of these guys, Kevin Durant, he hasn't even been playing. And we know that Chris Paul, even when he was a young guy, he would get injured. So I just don't trust either one of these guys to stay on the floor. And if they are healthy, yeah, they're going to put up some points, man. And they're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs. But that's my biggest problem with the Suns is just the fact that you have an aging Kevin Durant, aging Chris Paul. You have a depleted team that they no longer have Cam Johnson. I don't know if you saw this or not, Tanner. Did you see Mikal Bridges put up 45 points the other night?
I did not. I missed that.
On his new team, the Nets. Now, granted, that was on 70% field goal percentage, which that'll never happen again. But, Mikal Bridges, losing him. It's just there's not going to be a whole lot of depth on that team, and depth is important, especially as you go into the playoffs. I do love Cameron Payne, and I think he's going to be, as soon as CP3 gets injured, which will inevitably happen, I do like Cameron Payne and his fit. I think he's a great floor general, and he also shoots 37% from 3. And so I would like to see more of Cameron Payne in there. Obviously, you got DeAndre Ayton. But, yeah, I think that should be the favorite to come out of the West. I don't see them winning the championship. But right now, I definitely think they're the favorites to win the West.
You think Phoenix is?
Yeah, without a doubt. There's just too much firepower. And like I said, none of the teams in the West really play. You can say the Nuggets play great defense, but
I was going to say the Nuggets.
if you're gonna put Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, CP3 up against Jokic and Jamal Murray, give me the Suns like all day long. So
I could see that. I mean,
Yeah,
that's if
but
they're healthy too, right? The Suns have to be healthy to be able to play those games. They can't rely like they did last year with Dallas to rely on DeAndre Ayton to have a good game down low. And when he gets outdone by Luca, it's
yeah. And
can't have that.
also, when you're looking at the landscape of the West, keep in mind the Clippers. I've heard that they are the front runner right now, and they have the most interest. I don't know if it'll happen to get Russell Westbrook on that team. And I know it's kind of like everybody just laughs when you talk about Westbrook going to the Clippers, but you just have no idea how that's going to work. I mean, I seriously believe that Ty Lue, being an elite coach in the league, can figure out a way to make that thing work. And to me, the Clippers are already a contender in the West because Kawhi Leonard, I don't know if you guys been watching his number. He's playing like a monster. He's still doing his game management, but he is 100% healthy right now. And you throw Kawhi Leonard and Paul George out on that floor in the West, I mean, they can pretty much beat anyone right now. And so I could see the Clippers making a deep run. I could see the Mavericks making a deep run. Obviously, you got the Warriors. Memphis Grizzlies. We talk about defense. They're one of my favorite teams defensively in the West, and I just don't think they're not ready. They're still a little bit too young, I think, to try to go and win a championship. They wouldn't beat a team like the Suns. But for right now, I would say the Suns are the prohibitive favorites to come out of the West, and then after
Sacramento, put some respect on Sacramento this year.
They're not ready, dude. I mean, they're one of these really great regular season teams that's going to fall on their ass once they get to the playoffs just because of a lack of experience. But if I had to rank it right now, I would still say Suns number 1 in the West. Number 2, I'm still going with the Warriors. And then number 3, I got to go with the Clippers, dude. Wow. Whether they bring in Westbrook or not, I would say that would be my 1, 2, and 3 in terms of who I think is going to be effective in the playoffs.
Wow, you even put Golden State up there too.
I got them at 2 because they don't care about the regular season, man. Like it doesn't matter if they're a 500 team right now. They've got Gary Payton II, who is not even playing now. They're saying he's going to be ready to roll in the playoffs. Now, if he's not, that becomes a problem because he's literally like the only guy between him and Draymond. Those are the only 2 guys that play any defense on that whole fucking team. But if he is ready for the playoffs, they will make a run. I don't see him beating Phoenix if everybody's healthy. I see the Suns taking care of business if that were the matchup in the conference finals. But to me, Golden State is still right there just based on experience alone.
Is that the only team below in the play-in game or below, or only team in the play-in games or below that you see in the top 6?
No, I mean, I told you I could see the Lakers if the Lakers find a way to get out of that play-in tournament. I mean, could you imagine if that roster just works out and they go up against Denver in the first round? You don't think LeBron James and Anthony Davis can beat Denver Nuggets? I mean, that to me, that
Davis will be there.
if that roster construction works out with D'Angelo Russell, I mean, they could easily beat the Denver Nuggets. Easily.
I think it's because it's more of a 2-on-1 than it is anything that would beat the Nuggets. But
dude, I would love to see that. I would love to see LeBron James and AD go up against the Nuggets in the first round, dude.
I think if it's either 1-on-1, like let's say AD is out or if LeBron's out and it's a 1-on-1 matchup, I think Joker takes care of AD all day.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, if those guys are healthy, man, like I don't think the Nuggets could beat the Lakers. No way. I think it would be a fun series, and I think it would probably go the distance, but
it would go 7 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a long way to go, and that matchup probably won't even happen. But I truly believe in D'Angelo Russell, so that's that's where I'm at on that whole situation, because like I said, not only did you get rid of Westbrook, who was a horrible fit on the team, but you brought in a very productive player in D'Angelo Russell. And I just think that people are going to be surprised. And, a lot of people think that I'm a LeBron hater. I've never been a LeBron hater. I love LeBron. And I'm here to tell you right now, he is still to this day not a washed king. He still has a lot left in the tank. All he's doing right now is managing his minutes. There's never been a question about LeBron James still being an elite player in this league. The only question is Anthony Davis. Is he gonna be on the floor? And if he is, yeah,
Right.
they would work the Nuggets.
All right. Balkans out here wants to know, what's your hate on the Nuggets Jokic, Murray, Porter, and Gordon? What's your hate on it?
I really don't have any hate, but there's just not enough playoff experience between those guys. And I just feel like when you talk about guys who are injury prone and always have issues, I mean, Jamal Murray, like I don't even remember the guy playing that much over the last 3 years. And so, yeah, I guess he's
2 years, right?
he's
ACLs?
mostly healthy right now, but I put a lot of stock into playoff experience. And Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter, I mean, those guys, they don't have a lot of playoff experience. And so I totally believe in Jokic. I mean, Nikola Jokic is, to me, he's probably going to win the MVP 3 years in a row. So, yeah, I mean, I totally believe in Jokic, but I don't know who I can depend on outside of Jokic on that roster. If we're going in the second round or, deep into the playoffs, I just don't trust a team like that versus, guys like a LeBron James and Anthony Davis, a Golden State Warriors roster. Even to a lesser extent, the Memphis Grizzlies. That would be another interesting matchup for me. I think Denver would probably win that matchup, but I think it would be close. I mean, Ja Morant has already had a taste of losing now in the playoffs, and to me, I would trust Ja Morant about the same amount as I would trust a Nikola Jokic in a playoff matchup.
Towards ACL 2 years ago. Yep. That's what it was on that. So basically the Nuggets, I mean, looking at the All-Star break here, first in field goal percentage, first in 3-point percentage. If you do that, we see Golden State do that all the time and they win just fine. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how the Nuggets turn their second half schedule around into play. But I like the Nuggets. I think they're almost, as long as they stay healthy, right? I think that's the big thing. A lot of these guys just need to stay healthy. If they can stay healthy, this is a team that could make a push in the playoffs. I really do believe it. They were sixth last year when Joker won the MVP, a 6th seed going in the playoffs. So now they've been nonstop one. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait till playoff time to see what else, right? Because that's what you're looking for, is the playoff series and the way.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched so much NBA over the years. I mean, my best example of an elite team that always shit the bed in the playoffs was the Phoenix Suns, the Steve Nash Phoenix Suns. They could never get it done, but they would always be the number 1 seed, and they would just torch teams with their elite offense during the regular season. And then they never did shit really in the playoffs. I mean, they could never even win. I don't even think that team ever made it to the finals. But the other thing to keep in mind, guys, about the Lakers, I think they have either a top 3 or a top 5 easiest schedule in the NBA from here on out. And so, like, just keep an eye on the Lakers. That's all I'm going to tell you, because it's not going to be like last year, dude, where they're a laughing stock. These guys could certainly make a run.
Got you. All right, let's move on here. Big 3. Who is the big 3 in the NBA now? Who's the best big 3 team going to the NBA?
I'm going to start out east because you obviously have the Milwaukee Bucks, who a lot of great minds out there, including myself, think that the Bucks, if they would have been healthy, they would have beat the Celtics and probably won the championship last year. That is my favorite big three, at least out in the East. You've got Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday because they have championship experience. Just got to keep an eye on Chris Middleton right now because they're trying to ramp him up finally. I think he's never had more than 25 minutes in a game these last several weeks. But if they can just kind of ramp him up and keep him healthy, I certainly I think that not only are they the best big three in the NBA, but I also think that would be the best. They would be my personal favorite to come out of the East and win that conference. A lot of people out there love Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Joel Embiid. Again, that's a great big three, but I like the Milwaukee Bucks big three just a little bit better because they've been there and done that. They've gotten the job done and they've hoisted a trophy. Coming out to the West.
Real quick, Middleton, 17 games, 21.4 minutes per game. So,
yeah, they're just
out there for stats.
They're just totally keeping him in bubble wrap, man, because they know without him, it's going to end up the same way that it ended last year.
Yep.
So I'll let you go ahead. You want to talk about the East before we move on to the West?
Well, I guess the East here, I mean, I think the best East trio right now is your Tatum, Brown, and Brogdon over there. You could put Al Horford. You could put Robert Williams in that third spot. It doesn't matter who you put. I think that team is probably your best trio. Can be your best trio any night going into play. So I think the Celtics are easily the best trio.
That's not a big three, dude.
That's a big three. How was Brogdon not a big three? He was a huge piece last year for Indy.
I just don't see him as. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon is not a guy that I can depend on in the playoffs. I do depend on Drew Holiday because Drew Holiday, although he's a lesser player than Giannis and Middleton, he's always been a star player to me in this league, and he's already hoisted a trophy. Whereas Malcolm Brogdon, I mean, that guy, he's always injury prone. I don't view him as a star player. Oh. So then that's when you kind of get into a debate of star versus superstar. I don't consider any of those other Celtics as star players.
There's no other.
To me, it's just a tandem. It's Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. That to me is more of a tandem than it is a big three.
Well, Cleveland and Philly would be the next two, right? But there's no stars outside of Harden and Embiid and Donovan Mitchell.
I think Tyrese Maxey is an up and coming star, and that's why I would put him in that discussion.
If you're not putting Brogdon or Robert Williams in that play, you don't put Maxey in that play.
Tyrese Maxey is a better player than Malcolm Brogdon. He's just an overall better player.
I mean,
and not to mention the fact that Brogdon is he's entering the downside of his career. And I don't trust that guy to stay on the floor. Whereas Tyrese Maxey, although he has been injured this year, he's still a younger player and he's probably going to inherit that team.
I mean, the other one that I see that I would have picked, again, not really superstars or stars by any means, but the Knicks with Randall, Brunson, and even Hart. That trade since Hart's come into play has been amazing. I think that team I think that trio could do something. I don't really have a big superstar though, like what you're looking for.
Yeah, I don't see any big threes at all.
I like
in the East. I mean, the reason why the Celtics, in my opinion, should be the favorite to win the championship this year is because they have an elite defensive team. But when you're talking about big threes in terms of being box office and putting up a shitload of points on the board, to me, it's just Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. That's it. Like there's no big three on the Celtics unless you're talking about just, wreaking havoc on the defensive side of the floor. We can have that discussion.
I mean, outside of Milwaukee, there's really no big three. So.
Yeah, no, there really isn't. No, the Eastern Conference really doesn't have too many big threes, but they play very good defense, and that's That's why I think you're going to see an Eastern Conference champion win the NBA Finals this year.
The Heat, Jimmy.
Oof.
That's right, Vikings. It's all Jimmy.
Oh, that's fucking brutal, man. All right, so let's move out west real quick.
Okay, what do you got?
Big threes. We won't talk about the Clippers just yet because, yeah, I mean, if they get Westbrook, I would certainly entertain the thought of that being a big three. Mavericks don't have a big three right now. To me, the Phoenix Suns are not a big three. Okay. And I don't know how many times I've heard this since the trade happened. It's making me sick to my stomach. The Suns are not a big three. Okay. They are the favorite. I will give you that. They are the favorite to win the West right now. DeAndre Ayton is not part of a big three. Chris Paul at age 37, 38, or whatever the hell he is not part of a big three. Okay. CP3 is on the downside of his career. He'll do a great job running that offense. But he is borderline washed at this stage of his career. Like I said earlier, I would much rather see Cameron Payne out there running that team than I would CP3. And I'm sure the third of the three buffoons would agree with me on that. He absolutely hates Chris Paul.
You would.
That is not a big three. Memphis Grizzlies, they do not have a big three. LA Lakers, yeah, we already went over them. To me, D'Angelo Russell, not a superstar, but he's certainly a star player that can get you 20, 25, 30 points on any given night at the drop of a hat. So to me, that is a big three. If you're asking me who my favorite big three in the West is, it's easily the Golden State Warriors because you can plug in any of those three guys, okay? As much as people like to hate on Draymond Green, he's a four-time All-Star and a four-time NBA champion. So you could put Draymond as a part of the big three. You've already got Clay and Steph. You've got Andrew Wiggins, who was an All-Star last year. He can get you 35 points at the drop of a hat. You've got Jordan Poole, who has already put up 30, 35 points in several games. Whenever Steph is out injured, Jordan Poole steps up his game. That Jordan Poole is a guy who can give you 35 points on any given night. So to me, you've got four guys on that team. You've got Steph, Clay, Wiggins, and Jordan Poole. To me, that's a big four. Okay. That's not even a big three. That's a big four. When you have four guys at any one moment in time that could give you 35 or 40 points on one night, that's the best big three in the league because there's four of them that can do it. Now, I still say, in terms of big three, overall, I still like the Milwaukee Bucks better. But I would put in the West, the Warriors, although they're not my favorite to win the West, they are my favorite big three. I still think Phoenix should be the favorite.
Gotcha. Vikings out here says CP3 and or Ayton just as part of the big three as Holiday or Middleton. Kind of. Yeah.
No, I'm not giving it to you, man, because Drew Holiday has hoisted a trophy and he is an elite defensive player. CP3 can't do shit on the defensive side of the court. So yeah, DeAndre Ayton, he's a great defender. DeAndre Ayton's a great defender. He doesn't really do anything on the offensive side of the court. And so Drew Holiday is an elite player on both ends of the court. He's a lockdown defender, and he can give you also a ton of points and assists on the offensive side. And so that's the big difference for me. Now, again, if this move had happened like 5 years ago when CP3 was still kind of in his prime, then sure, yeah, it's a big three. But at this stage of his career, absolutely not. That is not a big three in Phoenix.
Okay, my big three is not Golden State because I was trying to go away from them. But I kind of talked about them earlier. I love what I'm seeing here. I love this trade that happened. I'm going to Minnesota. Conley, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards. It's just going to be more helpful when Towns gets healthy, but I love that combo. I think we saw some glimpse of it before the All-Star break. with the Conley Gobert connection coming back into play. We saw what they were with the Jazz together. So it can only be better now that you've added Anthony Edwards into play with Minnesota. Essentially, these three are kicking Towns out of Minnesota eventually. But I think that's my favorite big three in the West is Conley, Gobert, and Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. But again, it kind of reminds me of the Phoenix Suns big three in that, Mike Conley, I've always loved that guy, but he's just like, he's getting up there in years, man. Like he is, I don't
he's
think
still effective, man. Still
he's
effective.
still effective, but he's not in his prime. And
You
my
don't need to be in the prime
definition,
to be on a big three.
my personal definition of a big three are to have three guys who are still in their prime. And I understand
See Draymond still in his prime?
what he's only 32 years old, dude. CP3 is 37.
He's on his spiral.
And the only guy that somebody might throw out there to try to break my argument would be LeBron James. Well, yeah, you've got a point there. He's not in his prime, but he's only the second or third best player to ever play the game, and he still has a lot of juice. He's got a lot of juice left in the tank, and his basketball IQ is off the charts. And so I still consider guys like a LeBron still playing at an elite level, even though he's not in his prime, to be a part of a big three. But guys like CP3, Mike Conley, those guys they're out of their prime. And that's why I would not. I mean, I like your point, Tanner, and I would consider that to be a really good big three, especially if they can get Karl Anthony Towns out of there, because that's a guy I've never trusted. But yeah, no, I mean, I like it, man. I like Gobert, Mike Conley, and the Ant-Man as a big three. I love it, man. They're just not my favorite, but that's certainly I'd call it a big three. I just, I'd like at this stage of Mike Conley's career, I think you know how it is. I think he was a rookie the same year as Kevin Durant, but these smaller guards in the NBA, they don't last as long. I mean, you've already seen guys like Kevin Durant. I mean, he's injured right now, but when you have a smaller guy versus a bigger guy at the same age, those smaller guards tend to break down a little bit earlier in their career than the taller guys like Durant.
Right. Yeah. No. And then Bodkins out here says Holiday is a good player, not an elite player. So
yeah, no, I would never call him an elite player. I'm just saying, like, he's a guy that I consider him to be a star player in this league who has already hoisted a trophy, and he's a guy that I would trust more in the playoffs than I would trust guys like a Mike Conley or a CP3. I mean, CP3's never won anything, and everybody thinks that, oh, well, he's got to win it now, or it's never going to happen. Well, for CP3, that was like 5 years ago. Whenever he was with Houston, that was the moment in time where you could have made that argument and said, okay, well, Chris Paul better get it done now, or it's never going to happen. That was when he was with the Rockets, not at age freaking 37.
No, I was going to say Chris Paul's window was the Clippers days when they were so.
Yeah, I give Drew Holiday a lot of credit because he plays elite defense, and in terms of his offense, I mean, the guy can put up 25 points in a game, but he will never be asked to do that as long as Middleton and Giannis are out there, because the whole focal point of the offense is Giannis, and Chris Middleton is the closer. So you're never going to ask a guy like Drew Holiday to put up a 30-burger, but he is capable of doing that. And he's also capable of, locking down, on the opposing team, the first or second best player defensively. So, I just give Drew Holiday a lot of credit defensively.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with it. All right. Let's talk about today's skills competition. The only one I want to touch base on, it's a 3-point contest, because that's the one that interests me the most in today, just because I love seeing these guys go at it around the court there. So in the 3-point contest here, we got Buddy Hield. I always say this name wrong. Was it Laurie McCarkin?
I believe it's Markkanen.
Thank you. I knew I was going to say it wrong. Tyrese Halliburton, Kevin Huerter, Dame Time, Tyler Hero, Jason Tatum, and Julius Randle coming into play. Obviously, we all know Buddy Hield should win this contest, but Jason, does Buddy Hield win this contest?
I'm not going to bet on him, and I will tell you why. I like the fact that his teammate Tyrese Halliburton, who was also one of my favorite players from that particular draft class, I think this is going to be a competitive thing between two teammates, and I do believe it will be an Indiana Pacer that wins this thing, but I think it's going to be his teammate Tyrese Halliburton that wins the 3-point contest. But I'm not going to count out Lauri Markkanen. I would say, for me, those top 3 guys are right there. I don't think Dame Time is going to win it. I don't really think Tyler Hero or Kevin Huerter are going to have a good chance. Maybe Jason Tatum. Julius Randle's not going to win the thing. So I think it's between Hield, Halliburton, and Markkanen. And so it's a toss-up for me, but I'm going to go ahead and take Tyrese Halliburton just because he's kind of my favorite player out of that whole list. So I'm going to go with Halliburton.
So Tyrese Halliburton, 40% 3-point percentage here in 48 games because he did have that injury for a while. And then he is 51.5% from the corner. That's a 3-point percentage. So I like that too. For me here, I'm actually going Markkanen to win this one. He's 41% 3-point percentage, which is second on the list here of all these guys. But his corner 3 is 53.7%, which he leads that list into play for the corners. So I like that here. Buddy Hield, just so you guys know here, 43% 3-point percentage guy, leads the list overall there. And in the corner, he's third best at 48.4%. So that's behind Tyrese as well. So I just look breaking it down here. If I was going to pick a winner, I'm picking Lauri in this one here to win this one. I just think overall he's better suited for it. He's also scored more points than anybody outside of Tatum and Lillard and Randle. So, and he's not far from Randle at all. So, but he's also 25 versus the 30-year-old Buddy Hield coming into play. Buddy Hield's leading the old guys in this here. Let's see here. What we got? We got a comment here. When are they going to replace the dunk contest with 1v1?
Oh,
I haven't heard that yet, Ryan.
Oh man, that I would love to see that. Unfortunately, it's never going to happen because you would have guys like LeBron James who don't even have the balls to be in the dunk contest. I couldn't imagine him trying to go one-on-one with somebody and get freaking torched on All-Star Weekend. I mean, you're going to have, I think, it would be similar to the dunk contest, and where you would have like a lot of the best players, they would be too chicken to even show up to that thing. But I would love to see it. I mean, that's a great idea, but I don't see it ever happening.
Could you imagine All-Star break instead of the dunk contest 1v1? Uncle Drew walks in his costume ready to go versus whoever he has to play. How great would that be?
You know what that reminds me of is like the old practices of the Miami Heat when Michael Beasley, the old K-Stater, would routinely torch LeBron James in one-on-one games. Yep. And that I brought that up on the show before, and people don't even believe it. They think I'm just making stuff up or pulling out of my ass. That was a documented fact that Michael Beasley would routinely torch LeBron James in one-on-one. I'm just like, what is with these guys? They think that LeBron could take Michael or Kobe in a game on one-on-one. Meanwhile, he can't even beat his own teammate, who was Michael Beasley back in the day when he was playing for the Heat.
Ryan says, did you see Dinwiddie's interview? He said he would smoke most of the guys.
Now, is that for the dunk contest, or what is that? Or is it for one-on-one?
1v1.
Hey, man, I don't doubt it, just because one-on-one is completely different. I mean,
I could see a lot of players that are like you would consider second, third tier guys, end up actually beating a lot of these top tier guys in 1-on-1 just
And
because
that's
it's different.
and that's exactly why you would never see something like that happen, is because for a guy like LeBron James, I mean, if they did that on a national stage and he got torched by Michael Beasley, I mean, that would kill his brand. And a lot of these guys like Steph Curry, all these great players who have an amazing brand would actually get their brand destroyed. You know, if they got, let's say, like Zach LaVine or somebody like that went up against, like Steph Curry or Kawhi Leonard, and, just it's just a different dynamic, which is exactly why it would never happen, because you would see like you just said, these second and third tier players going up and beating superstar players. And that's exactly why it will never happen.
You know what? If I'm going to do an alternate to a dunk contest, give me a 25-man game of knockout, and I'll watch it all day. 25 game knockout.
I just want dodgeball, man. I want to see these guys. I want to see these guys get pegged.
That's awesome. Do they use real basketballs too?
Yeah, whatever you want to use. I mean, yeah, I would love to see a dodgeball and NBA All-Star Weekend. That'd be great.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up here. Appreciate your comments in here. Let's see. We got one more here. What's up, Scott? He goes, the Celtics are winning the title this year. Jason said they're the favorite, so
yeah, I totally agree with you. That's why I'm pretty sure I checked on the sports books. They have Phoenix as the favorite to win it all, but I only have Phoenix as the favorites for the West. And I could be mistaken on that. They could be just the West favorites. But I could have sworn somebody had them out there to win the championship, and that's just not going to happen. I mean, it all hinges on Chris Middleton, and that's what this thing hinges on. Will they get their revenge this year against the Celtics? And if Middleton is 100%, they will beat the Celtics and win the East. But like I said, they're just now ramping him up. And if he's not 100%, which who knows at this point, we got a long way to go. But I mean, if you're putting a gun to my head, I'm taking the Celtics right now to win the East. But it all hinges on the health of Middleton. And if he is 100% or can figure out a way to get to 100%, I do like the Bucks beating the Celtics this year. So I know I'm kind of speaking out of both sides of my mouth here, but I do think the Bucks are the better team. But I don't know what to expect from Middleton, coming off of his injuries.
So your top 6 here right now, Jason, based off FanDuel currently: Celtics plus 280, Bucks plus 430, Suns plus 480, Nuggets plus 750, the Clippers plus 1200, and the 76ers plus 1400.
And that makes more sense to me. But I swear I'm talking about within 24 hours after that trade, the Durant trade happened.
They did.
They went overboard, and somebody had the Suns as the favorite. I'm like, whoa, let's pump the brakes on that a little bit.
Laser tag at the All-Star game. Yeah, I'll take that. And Boston Celtics, we are plus 350 on one sports books to win it all. Phoenix is.
Hey, you know me, man. You know where my heart is. I want to see a poker tournament with these guys.
Yeah, poker tournament. There we go.
That's where my heart is. I would love to see that.
All right, guys.
You'd have to worry about anybody getting injured in that, except for Chris Paul. Chris Paul would still figure out a way to get injured in a poker tournament.
Yeah, I think poker tournament, the faces we would get from players, just the dialogue as well that comes out of it would be epic enough to watch it.
Hey, dude, you heard it here first from the JG. They're gonna do it, man. I feel this thing's gonna happen.
I love it. All right, guys, we're wrapping up here. Join us next Saturday here for some more NBA news as we get going, as the season starts again. Second half starts Thursday, I believe it is the first game after this weekend. So excited to see here as we ramp it up going down the stretch on see what happens. So join us next Saturday here around 9:45 a.m. Central, and we'll catch you guys later. See you guys.
See you guys at the draft in KC. Talk about those Chiefs.